I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't confront him. When I found out my husband was cheating, I did something far worse. I smiled. I waited. And I planned. By the time he realized I knew the truth, he had already lost his job, his reputation, his future, and the woman he cheated with. This isn't a story about rage or revenge in the heat of the moment. It's about patience. It's about intelligence. And it's about what happens when a woman decides not to be a victim, but the architect of consequences. There are moments in life when everything you thought was solid just crumbles beneath your feet. For me, that moment came on a Wednesday afternoon when I wasn't even looking for it. My husband Marcus had been acting strange for weeks. Not the obvious kind of strange that screams I'm cheating. More like the subtle kind that whispers something's off, but you can't quite put your finger on it. He started caring about his appearance more. New cologne. Tighter shirts at the gym. Hair gel that cost $40 a bottle when he used to grab whatever was on sale at Target. But the real warning sign. He stopped fighting with me. I know that sounds backwards. Most women would celebrate a peaceful household. But Marcus and I, we were fighters. Not in a toxic way, but in that passionate way where you care enough to argue about which restaurant to pick, or whose turn it is to take out the trash. When that fire died, when he started just agreeing with everything I said with this distant, polite smile, that's when I knew something was deeply wrong. It was like living with a ghost of my husband. The body was there, going through the motions, but the person I married had checked out. I'm not the type to snoop. Never have been. I always believe that if you can't trust your partner, you shouldn't be with them. But trust is a funny thing. It's built over years and can be destroyed in seconds. And my trust was starting to crack. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night. Marcus said he had to work late. Again. This was the third time that week. I called his office around 8:30, just to see if he wanted me to save him dinner. His assistant Rebecca answered. Sweet girl, always cheerful. Oh, Mrs. Chen, she said, and I could hear the confusion in her voice. Marcus left at 5 today. He said he had a family thing. Family thing. We don't have kids. Both our parents live across the country. What family thing? I thanked Rebecca, hung up, and sat there in our kitchen with my phone in my hand, staring at the chicken I'd been roasting for a husband who'd lied about where he was. That's when something inside me shifted. Not anger, not yet. Something colder. More calculated. If Marcus was lying, I was going to find out. And I was going to be smart about it. I didn't confront him when he came home at 10, smelling like perfume that definitely wasn't mine. I didn't throw things or scream or cry. I just smiled, asked how work was, and listened to him spin another lie about a difficult client and a last-minute presentation. And while he talked, I watched. Really watched. The way his eyes shifted left when he lied. The way he touched his neck when he was nervous. The way he over-explained details that didn't matter, like what sandwich he grabbed for dinner, or which conference room they used. Liars always give too many details. Truth is simple. Lies need scaffolding. That night, after he fell asleep, I did something I never thought I'd do. I took his phone from the nightstand, used his thumbprint to unlock it while he was dead to the world, and started digging. At first, I found nothing. His texts were clean. His call log was boring. His social media was just work stuff and sports. For a second, I felt guilty. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe Rebecca got it wrong. Maybe there was a perfectly reasonable explanation. Then I saw it. A folder in his photos labeled Work Docs 2024. Who labels personal photos as work documents? Someone who's hiding something, that's who. I opened it. And there she was. Photos of a woman I'd never seen before. Blonde, younger than me, probably 25 at most. She had that Instagram filter look, all perfect skin and bright eyes and the kind of body that comes from having a personal trainer and no kids. In the photos, she was wearing lingerie. Marcus's favorite color. Red. But it wasn't just the lingerie photos that destroyed me. It was the other ones. The casual ones. Her in his car, laughing at something off camera. Her at a restaurant I recognized, the expensive Italian place downtown where Marcus took me for our anniversary 3 years ago. Her in what looked like a hotel room, wearing his shirt, nothing else, looking at the camera like she owned him. There were dozens of photos. Months worth. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a one-night thing. This was a whole relationship I knew nothing about. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. I wanted to wake him up right then, throw the phone in his face, scream until my voice gave out. But something stopped me. That cold, calculating part of my brain that had kicked in earlier. If I confronted him now, he'd just deny it. He'd gaslight me. Tell me those photos were old, or fake, or from before we got married. He'd make me feel crazy for snooping. He'd flip the script and make this about me violating his privacy instead of him violating our marriage. No. I needed more. I needed everything. So I took screenshots of every single photo. I sent them to my email using a delayed send feature, so they wouldn't show up in his sent folder right away. Then I put his phone back exactly where I found it, slid back into bed beside the man, who'd been lying to me for God knows how long, and stared at the ceiling until sunrise. The next morning, I played the perfect wife. Made him breakfast. Kissed him goodbye. Told him to have a great day. And the moment his car pulled out of the driveway, I got to work. First, I called in sick to my own job. Then I hired a private investigator. I know, it sounds dramatic, like something from a movie. But I needed proof. Real, concrete, undeniable proof. Photos on his phone could be explained away. But surveillance. GPS tracking. Financial records. That's the kind of evidence that holds up. The investigator's name was Rita. She was this no-nonsense woman in her 50s who'd seen every kind of cheating husband imaginable. When I showed her the photos, she didn't even blink. Standard affair, she said, making notes. Young mistress, expensive gifts, probably telling her he's leaving you. They never actually leave, by the way. The wife always has something they need. Money, status, stability. The girlfriend is just entertainment. Her words should have made me feel better. They didn't. Rita got to work fast. Within 2 days, she had a full report. The woman's name was Sienna. 24 years old. Worked as a receptionist at a dental office across town. No idea Marcus was married, according to her social media, where she posted about her amazing new boyfriend constantly. Marcus had been seeing her for 7 months. 7 months of lies. Of fake work events and imaginary clients and business trips that were really weekend getaways to beach resorts, while I stayed home alone thinking my husband was grinding away at the office. Rita's surveillance photos showed everything. Marcus picking Sienna up from work. Taking her to nice restaurants. Holding her hand in public, bold as anything, in parts of town where he thought no one would recognize him. Going to hotels. Always the same one, the Meridian downtown, always room 604. But the financial records, that's what really got me. Marcus had opened a separate credit card I didn't know about. He'd spent over $30,000 on Sienna in 7 months. Jewelry. Clothes. A weekend trip to Miami. Even helped with her rent a few times. $30,000 of our money. Money from our joint savings that I thought was going toward the house renovation we'd been planning. Money I'd contributed to, working 50-hour weeks at a job I hated because I thought we were building a future together. He'd stolen from me. Not just my trust, not just my marriage, but actual money. Our money. That's when the anger finally came. Not hot and explosive, but cold and sharp as a blade. I sat in Rita's office, looking at photo after photo of my husband's double life, and something clicked into place. I wasn't going to be the crying wife. I wasn't going to be the woman who fell apart and begged him to stay. I wasn't going to be another sad statistic. I was going to make him pay. Not with violence. Not with anything illegal. But with consequences. Real, life-altering consequences that he'd have to live with long after this was over. Rita looked at me across her desk. What do you want to do with this information? I smiled. I want to dismantle his entire life. Piece by piece. So carefully that he doesn't even see it coming until it's too late. I like you, Rita said, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I laughed. We spent the next week planning. Rita called it building the case. I called it preparing for war. First, I needed to protect myself financially. I consulted with a divorce attorney, the best one in the city, a woman named Patricia Chen, who had a reputation for destroying cheating husbands in court. She looked at Rita's evidence and smiled like a shark smelling blood. This is good, Patricia said. Really good. Infidelity, financial misconduct, we can work with this. But we need to be strategic. Don't let him know you know. Not yet. We need to get all our ducks in a row first. So I played along. For 2 more weeks, I pretended everything was fine. I smiled when Marcus came home late. I didn't question the mysterious charges on our credit card that he thought I couldn't see. I even suggested we start planning that house renovation, just to see if he'd squirm. He did. Maybe we should wait, he said. Market's weird right now. Let's hold off a few months. A few months. Probably thought he'd have left me by then. Meanwhile, I was moving money. Not all of it, that would be suspicious. But I opened my own bank account at a different bank, started funneling my paychecks there instead of our joint account. Took half the savings, exactly my legal share, and moved it somewhere Marcus couldn't touch it. Collected all our important documents, our tax returns, property deeds, investment statements, everything, and stored copies in a safety deposit box at my new bank. Patricia also advised me to document everything. So I started keeping a journal. Every time Marcus lied about working late. Every unexplained charge. Every time he came home smelling like someone else's perfume. All of it, dated and detailed. But I wasn't just preparing for divorce. I was preparing for total destruction. See, Marcus had always been proud of his reputation. He was a senior manager at a prestigious consulting firm, the kind of place where image is everything. He'd worked his ass off to get there, and he loved the respect that came with the title. What Marcus didn't know is that his firm had a very strict morality clause in their employment contract. I knew because I'd helped him review it when he first got hired 6 years ago. Infidelity, especially when it involved financial misconduct or misuse of company resources, was grounds for immediate termination. And wouldn't you know it, Marcus had been using his company credit card for some of his dates with Sienna. Just small things, dinners here and there, claiming them as client meetings. But it was enough. I compiled everything. The affair. The fake expense reports. All of it, organized in a neat little folder. But I didn't send it yet. I was waiting for the right moment. That moment came 3 weeks after I'd first discovered the truth. Marcus came home one evening and did something unexpected. He sat me down and said we needed to talk. For a second, my heart jumped. Was he finally going to confess? Was he going to end this charade? I think we need to spend some time apart, he said, not quite meeting my eyes. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I just feel like we've grown apart. Maybe a trial separation would be good for us. A trial separation. That's what he was calling it. He wanted to leave me for Sienna without actually having to admit he was cheating. Wanted to keep me on the back burner, just in case his little fantasy didn't work out. Wanted to have his cake and eat it too. I looked at my husband, this man I'd loved for 8 years, and felt absolutely nothing. Okay, I said simply. He blinked. Okay. Yes. If that's what you want, okay. I'll move out this weekend. He looked relieved and confused at the same time. You will? Of course. I'm not going to force you to stay in a marriage you don't want to be in, Marcus. I respect your feelings. The look on his face, like he'd expected a fight, and got cooperation instead. He actually looked disappointed. Some part of him wanted the drama, wanted me to beg and cry and make him feel important. I gave him nothing. That weekend, I moved out. I'd already found an apartment, a nice one-bedroom place across town. I took my clothes, my personal items, and exactly half of our shared belongings. Fair and legal, everything by the book. Marcus helped me load boxes into my car, and I swear he looked guilty. Not guilty enough to confess, but guilty enough to feel like maybe he was making a mistake. We can still talk, he said as I packed the last box. This doesn't have to be forever. Sure, I said, giving him a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Take care of yourself, Marcus. I drove away and didn't look back. That night, from my new apartment, I executed phase 1 of my plan. I sent the evidence to Marcus's boss. Not anonymously. I put my name on it. Included a detailed letter explaining that I'd discovered my husband's affair, and in the process of gathering evidence for divorce proceedings, had uncovered what appeared to be fraudulent expense reports. I wasn't doing this out of spite, I explained in the letter. I was doing it because as the spouse, I could potentially be held liable for any financial misconduct, and I wanted to make it clear that I had no knowledge of or involvement in these activities. Corporate responsibility, I called it. They ate it up. The email went to Marcus's boss, the head of HR, and the company's ethics compliance officer. I sent it at midnight on Sunday, so it would be the first thing they saw Monday morning. Phase 2 happened simultaneously. I sent a carefully worded message to Sienna through Instagram. I didn't attack her. I didn't call her names. I simply told her the truth. Hi Sienna. My name is Lauren Chen. I'm Marcus's wife. I'm sure he told you we were separated or getting divorced, but that's not true. We are still married, still living together until last weekend. I'm filing for divorce now, but I thought you should know the truth about who you're dating. I've attached our marriage certificate and some recent photos of us together. I hope you make the right choice for yourself. Take care. I attached our marriage certificate. Photos from our anniversary dinner 2 months ago where Marcus had his arm around me and was smiling like the happiest man alive. Photos from a family barbecue 3 weeks ago. I wasn't trying to win Marcus back. I was burning his bridge to Sienna, so he'd have nowhere to run. Then I waited. Monday morning came. I was at my new job. I'd actually put in my 2 weeks at the old place and found something better, when my phone started blowing up. 12 missed calls from Marcus. 15 texts. What did you do? Lauren, call me now. This is insane, you can't do this. You're ruining my life over a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. That's what he was calling 7 months of cheating. I didn't respond. Let him sweat. By noon, I got a call from Patricia, my lawyer. Your husband's attorney just contacted me. He wants to talk settlement. Fast. Already. His firm suspended him pending investigation. He's panicking. Wants to resolve the divorce quickly and quietly before this gets worse. Tell him no, I said. We are doing this my way, on my timeline. I'm not giving him an easy out. Patricia laughed. You're my favorite client this year. By evening, I got a message from Sienna. Just 2 words. Thank you. She'd dumped him. Of course she had. The fantasy of dating a successful older man disappears pretty quick when you realize he's actually just a married liar who's about to lose everything. Marcus tried to come to my apartment that night. I watched through the peephole as he knocked and called my name. I didn't answer. Eventually, he left. The next few weeks were brutal for Marcus, and I watched it all unfold with cold satisfaction. His firm completed their investigation. The expense report fraud was real, even if it was relatively minor in the scheme of things. But combined with the ethics violation of having an affair and lying about it, they terminated his employment. No severance. No recommendation. Just gone. He tried to find another job, but the consulting world is smaller than you'd think. Word got around. Personal ethics issues was the phrase I heard got attached to his name. His parents called me. They'd always liked me, thought of me as the daughter they never had. When I told them the truth, the whole truth, his mother cried. Not for Marcus, but for me. They apologized on his behalf and said they'd support me in whatever I decided to do. That one actually hurt. I'd loved his parents. But it was also vindicating to have them on my side. The divorce took 4 months to finalize. In that time, I got the house. Marcus had to buy me out of my share, which meant he had to take a loan he could barely afford now that he was working a job that paid half what his old one did. I got half his pension. I got alimony for 3 years, enough to go back to school and finish my master's degree that I'd put on hold when we got married. He got to keep his car and his clothes and the crushing weight of his own bad decisions. Our final court date was on a Friday morning. I wore my best suit, the navy one that made me feel powerful. Marcus looked like he'd aged 10 years in 4 months. Thinner. Tired. Defeated. His lawyer tried one last time to negotiate. Patricia shut it down so fast and so thoroughly that I almost felt bad for the guy. Almost. When the judge finalized our divorce, I felt this weight lift off my shoulders that I didn't even know I'd been carrying. Marcus looked at me across the courtroom, and I could see him wanting to say something. Maybe apologize. Maybe beg for forgiveness. Maybe ask if there was any chance for us to try again. I stood up, collected my papers, and walked out without a word. Outside the courthouse, Patricia shook my hand. You did good in there. I just survived, I said. No, she corrected me. You won. There's a difference. She was right. I had won. Not because I destroyed Marcus's life, though I definitely did that. But because I refused to be a victim. I refused to let his choices define me. I took control of the narrative and made sure that the consequences of his actions fell squarely on his shoulders where they belonged. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Marcus at a coffee shop. It was one of those awkward moments where we both saw each other at the same time, and there was no way to avoid it. He looked better than he had in court, but still not great. The kind of better that comes from no longer being in complete crisis mode, but still being nowhere near okay. Lauren, he said. Hi. Marcus. There was a long, awkward pause. Finally, he spoke. I'm sorry. For everything. I know it doesn't mean anything now, but I need you to know that. I was an idiot. I threw away the best thing in my life for something that was never real. I looked at him, this man who'd promised to love me forever, and then betrayed me in the worst way possible. Part of me wanted to yell, to tell him exactly what I thought of his apology. But mostly, I just felt tired. I appreciate the apology, I said. But you're right, it doesn't mean anything now. What you did to me, that changed me. I'm not the same person I was when we were married. I know, he said quietly. You're stronger. I can see it. I am stronger. Because I had to be. You made sure of that. He looked like he wanted to say more, but what was there to say? We stood there for another moment, two people, who used to know everything about each other and now knew nothing. I hope you find what you're looking for, I said finally. I really do. But it won't be with me. Not ever again. I know. Take care of yourself, Lauren. I always do. I walked away from him for the last time and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no regret. Just peace. That's the thing they don't tell you about revenge. Real revenge isn't about making someone hurt the way they hurt you. It's about taking back your power. It's about showing them that their actions have consequences. It's about refusing to be broken by their betrayal. Marcus cheated on me. He lied to me. He stole from me. He tried to make me feel crazy for suspecting the truth. And I made him pay. Not with violence or cruelty. But with accountability. I held up a mirror and made him look at what he'd done. I made sure everyone in his life knew the truth. I made sure he faced real consequences for his actions. Some people might say I went too far. That I destroyed his life unnecessarily. But here's what I know. I didn't destroy his life. He did that himself. I just made sure he couldn't escape the wreckage. And you know what? I rebuilt my life. I finished my master's degree. I got promoted at my new job. I bought my own house, a little craftsman bungalow with a garden I tend on weekends. I started dating again, slowly, carefully, with clear boundaries and zero tolerance for bullshit. I'm happy now. Really, genuinely happy. Not the performance of happiness I lived with Marcus toward the end. Real joy, real peace, real satisfaction with my life. Sometimes people ask me if I regret how I handled the divorce. If I wish I'd taken the high road, been more forgiving, let karma handle Marcus instead of taking matters into my own hands. And my answer is always the same. No. Not for a single second. Because here's the truth, taking the high road is overrated when someone's trying to burn down your life. Sometimes the high road is just another way of saying let people treat you like garbage and smile through it. I chose a different path. I chose justice. I chose consequences. I chose to fight back. He cheated. I made him pay. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Because at the end of the day, I didn't just survive what Marcus did to me. I won. I took the worst betrayal of my life and turned it into the catalyst for becoming the strongest, most authentic version of myself. That's not revenge. That's victory. And victory tastes so much sweeter than anything Marcus could have ever given me.